Hello, this is the continuation of Rules Never to be Broken, Shouldn't Have Had to be Made by Zoe 2550 on AO3. Part 2. Cracks like spiderwebs in my reality. Summary. Satisfaction turns into guilt. Anger turns into shame. The torturer turns into the tortured. Katsuki Bakugo says fuck you to the circle of trauma and recalls the cracks that lead to his reality shattering. Chapter 1. The choices of your parents, siblings, friends, teachers, and even strangers shape your reality just as much as your own choices. But what happens when everything that we thought was true about our reality starts to crack? What happens when we have to analyze everything we used to believe and decide whether it is still true? What happens to a child when their reality starts to crack and they can do nothing about it but wait for it to shatter so that they may begin to pick up the pieces? Katsuki wishes he could admit that right now he knew he was doing the right thing, but in the effort to be more honest to himself, he wouldn't say scared, but he was slightly nervous, sitting in the overly comfortable chair, waiting for the therapist he had a meeting with to come out and call him in. He had the urge to run far away, never look back. No one that mattered would know. They wouldn't know if he never entered that fucking room with the dark wood door and the soft glow of a lamp sliding under the crack at the bottom of the door. He could go. He could run and never stop running. Izuku Midoriya would know. Deku would smile, realizing he was right. Izu would cry, realizing his hope that Katsuki could be Kats to him ever again was stupid. Katsuki Bakugo would know. Kachan would sneer, realizing he could keep using that name to get away with things. Kats would rage, realizing he would never be a real hero. So Katsuki sat in the overly comfortable chair, gritting his teeth, digging his nails into his calloused palms, and praying the fucking therapist would hurry the fuck up before he talked himself out of going. His fucking Wednesday was going well before this, if you could believe it. Bakugo? A soft, deep voice asks. Fuck, took you long enough, god damn it, Katsuki spits out, just barely holding back a snarl. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean. I'm right on time. The same voice responds, still aggravatingly soft. Fucking whatever. Katsuki storms past the person and into the room behind them, promptly falling into a chair that was overly fucking comfortable. The therapist closes the door gently and then sits down in the chair across from the teenager. So, Bakugo, are there questions you would like to ask me to make sure I'm the right fit for you? Do you just want to dive right in this session? It's up to you how we progress. The therapist says, expression open. Not that that helped Katsuki read it. How about a fucking introduction? Are you a fucking idiot? Katsuki growls. Your teacher from UA warned me about your temper, but regardless, I will not have you saying such degrading comments about me. You are correct. Introduction should be given, and I apologize for forgetting. They respond. Their voice isn't angry, but it loses that soft and pleasant undertone. Katsuki sent the therapist an email to make sure they would be a good fit for him, but he hadn't bothered to remember anything about the fucking therapist, just in case they were different in person. Fucking course they weren't. Katsuki was never wrong. Ignoring the years, he was obviously wrong about Izuku, and he had a feeling the two of them would get along just fine. Bakugo Katsuki, he him, future number one hero, and I'm coming here to fix my fucking self 'cause I can be a piece of shit. So like, if I cross a boundary or some fucking shit, let me know. I'm I'm not great with that type of fucking stuff. Katsuki mumbled his way through most of his introduction. He knew therapy was gonna be fucking awful. Oh look, he was right again. Thank you for letting me know that. I'll keep that in mind for the future. My name is Suzuki Kenshin, he him, and I've been practicing in the field of therapy and psychology for over 15 years. I have a hard time with degrading insults, so please do your best to keep those a minimum. The therapist Katsuki no knew as Suzuki responded. His voice was once again soft. Fucking great, no insults, got it. Look, we can skip the whole "are you a good therapist for me" strict. I already sent you an email and got all the answers from you, so that would be a waste of time. However, I want to clarify, you can't fucking share anything I say to you in here, right? Katsuki asks, his voice rough and red eyes staring intently at the man across from him. Oh right, I remember seeing that email, now that you mention it. As for the confidentially thing, you are mostly right. Katsuki tenses, ready to walk the fuck out of here. However, if you are posing a threat to yourself or others, I'm allowed to tell the correct people to make sure no one is harmed. Suzuki finishes, intervening his fingers together and meeting Katsuki's stare dead on. Katsuki relaxes as much as he can around a stranger in goddamn overly comfortable chairs. No, he's not going to shut up about the chairs. Fucking sue him. Since the confidentially seems to be real, then this might just work. Good. Well, I'm not a fucking coward, so we're going to jump right into it. Katsuki bugs out. Whatever you want to do, Bakugo. Suzuki agrees comfortably. Damn straight, Katsuki mumbles, before taking a deep breath. Right. Well, I have a fuck ton of issues I want to talk about, but we are gonna start with my fucking revelation that led to this, because that is currently fucking me over. So basically I need this right now to know how to deal with the fucking nerd now that I know how terrible I was, and Katsuki is interrupted by Suzuki raising his hand and clearing his throat quietly. Once the blonde stops talking, the therapist begins. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I don't know who the, and I quote, fucking nerd is. I also don't know what you are talking about when you say you were terrible. You better be fucking sorry fucking interrupting me. The nerd is a classmate of mine, and was my friend when we were like, fucking 3. I'm going to be referring to him as the nerd because I don't trust you enough to tell you his name. I was his bully after 4 because of shit I will tell you about later. Also, I may refer to him as Deku in the story because that's what I used to fucking call him. The point is, I was fucking terrible and I didn't realize it until like months ago, and now I don't know what to do or how to be better. Katsuki huffed out, his anger at having to admit he was lost making his voice rise. Okay, so this seems to be something that is really bugging you. This will be the subject of today's session. However, I do want to go over your younger years so I can truly understand the situation later. Is that okay? Suzuki asked politely. His hands fixed his auburn orange hair as he waited for the teen's response. Yeah, fucking fine. That was my plan anyways. But this is more important right the fuck now. Katsuki responds, feeling uncomfortable at the man's non-argumentative response. Of course, you get to direct the conversation, Bakugo. I won't fight you on that. You talk about what you want to talk about, and you don't talk about what you don't want to talk about. Now, how about you tell me about this revelation? Suzuki asked gently. Katsuki nods harshly, an urge to scream or cry, fighting to escape. The boy crushes it. Fine, it's a long story and I'm starting at the very beginning. Better settle the fuck in, Katsuki mutters. The therapist nods and opens to a blank notebook page, explaining that it was for his memory's sake. Katsuki begins the story of terrible events that led to his fucked up reality. Fucking candy cane. He was paired off with the fucking candy cane boy for the fucking stupid scare challenge or whatever the fuck it was called. Katsuki was pretty sure his fucking training camp was supposed to be for, training, not fucking games that made idiots like Raccoon Eyes and Dunce Face squirrel in excitement. Not that they were allowed to participate, the fact alone comforts Katsuki slightly. Some stupid fucking 1B extras jumped out and tried to scare the two of them. Icy Hot matched him step for step as they took 2 steps back and then carried on walking. Katsuki settled into the knowledge that this game would be very awkward and very fucking boring since the two-toned boys didn't seem inclined to say fucking anything of use. What was he, a fucking mute? Why do you despise nerd? The silent fucker's monotone voice cuts through the silence, making his words ring even louder. Katsuki would have preferred the silence on second thought. What is it fucking to you, Candy Cane, huh? Katsuki keeps his voice quieter than usual, but the edge is 100% fucking there. I'm curious. He is kind to you. Why do you despise him? The bastard replies. His inflection does not change at all. Fuck off, you don't know shit about Deku and I, so don't act like you understand a goddamn thing about our feelings towards one another. Deku isn't fucking kind, and one day all of you idiots will wake up and see it for your fucking selves. Your betrayal will not be. Katsuki is the middle of a fucking amazing rant about Deku's facades and acting when the forest just has to burst into flames and cut him off. What the fuck? As if fire has the right to interrupt him. That's odd. I don't think that is supposed to happen. Comes from the fucking Candy Cane's obvious statement, stated as blandly as humanly possible. No shit, genius. No wonder you got in through recommendations. You're too smart for the normal exam. Katsuki snaps, sarcasm coating his words like syrup. That is not why I took the recommendation route. My father's endeavor, so he could recommend me, and he thought it would be a bad look not to use that option. That is how it works, Bakugo. Icy Hot responds, totally missing the fucking sarcasm. Oh my fucking god, I know that. Fucking sarcasm, damn it. Katsuki snorts, rolling his eyes heavily. Just then, he feels the impact of Icy Hot's eyes shove into him, forcing him to either roll or just fall on his face like a dumbass. He would like to keep his dignity, thank you very much. Therefore, he rolled and came up on his feet like a fucking badass to see a fucking villain. Could he get a fucking break? The fight was a blur after Icy Hot's eyes forced him out of the way of slight discomfort. Icy Hot didn't save him. Shut the fuck up. And into a place of relative advantage to attack the crazy guy with knife teeth. The two of them fought in tandem, just trying to avoid getting injured. A few times the blades would catch Icy Hot off guard and he would get cut. When that happened, Katsuki backed his classmate the fuck up. I don't mean to interrupt you again, Bakugo, but I tried to keep silent as long as possible. The issue is that I have no idea who Candy Cane or Icy Hot is. Suzuki interrupts his story, asking some dumbass question. Katsuki stares at the therapist, red eyes meeting brown. The teen considers the professional for a short 5 seconds before answering. You know how I said I would prefer to the nerd as the nerd, no matter what cause I don't trust you. To know his name, well, that's the same for Icy Hot. He's a classmate and a friend. So no fucking way you get to know who he is until I trust you. Comes the blunt, almost threatening reply from the blonde. I respect that. What about Candy Cane? Is their name also off limit? Also, how many people were in the woods with you fighting that villain? Just Icy Hot and Candy Cane? The therapist asked. His brows frown downwards in what Katsuki assumes is confusion. However, the boy can't concentrate on reading his expression because he bursts out laughing as soon as Suzuki finishes his question. Not just the snort and scoff that Katsuki always gives, but fully on belly laugh, head thrown back and face split into pure amusement. The therapist continues to stare confusedly until Katsuki regains himself with a strict reminder that he cannot trust this man. Oh god, this was great. Candy Cane and Icy Hot are the same fucking person. I used several nicknames for him because, well, it's him and I didn't used to like him. Katsuki attempts to be stoic, but the laughter is still begging to break through, so it doesn't come across quite as successful as the boy would have liked. Ah, I see. I'm going to assume then that Icy Hot didn't actually refer to nerd as nerd. Suzuki clarifies. Fucking obviously. Katsuki hates how this man seems to make him feel comfortable enough to say whatever. It's not fucking safe and Katsuki really, really, really hates it. One more question, then I'll let you get back to the story. You said you used to not like Icy Hot. What changed? The auburn-haired man asks, his head tilted in curiosity. Look, we can talk about my relationship with the fucking Candy Cane at another time. We're fucking focusing on my fucking stupid ass annoying fucking revelation. Katsuki snorts, pulling it off perfectly. However, Suzuki doesn't seem offended, just understanding? Fucking whatever. Katsuki carries on with the story of that horrid night. Making sure that the fucker didn't get any more injured, the two of them worked well together as much as Katsuki hated to admit it, but it was the fucking truth. The fact that they were fighting a legit villain again and holding their own was a major fad in on itself. Katsuki wasn't dumb enough to think that 4 months into his training and he was good enough to take on top-tier villains without being possibly rendered almost dead. Of course, he could have taken care of this on his own. He would have just gotten majorly hurt. He didn't need Icy Hot's help, but it was useful, unlike if he was stuck with Deku in this situation. Icy Hot's quirk blocks a blow that would have been lethal before the bastard calls out in a tone that if Katsuki didn't know better he would label as worried. Bakugo, keep up your guard. I almost didn't make it in time. The blonde is about to respond with something smart that effectively delivers the message that he would have been fine, when all of a sudden crashing is coming from behind the two of them. Katsuki launches himself with his explosion towards Icy Hot. Their collision forces the both of them out of the way of a far too large dark shadow. The villain with blades for teeth is crackling and shrieking in the terrifying way that speaks of a lust for pain. Katsuki wants to cower. He wants to disappear and wake up as if this all is a terrible dream. Unfortunately, this hell is not a dream, and the only luck in this situation comes in form of the maniac's noise drawing Dark Shadow's attention. And just like that, the villain does not make another sound. Katsuki can hear the blood rushing through his ears. He can hear the pounding of his heart, and the pounding of Icy Hot's heart underneath him. He can feel the raped and harsh breaths that are forcing their way in and out of his body. However, the world can't puncture the cacophony that rages in the blonde's head. Everything is so fucking loud, but at the same time the silence of everything outside of his body makes him want to scream. Silence is pain. Silence is anger. Silence comes before the explosion that kills you. Bakugo! Chan! Bakugo! Answer me, you explosive idiot! Kachan, please get up. I need you. Bakugo, your friends would never forgive you if you let yourself and everyone be killed there. Katsuki finally recognizes the voice. Icy Hot is yelling at him, shouting things that he hopes to God will get Katsuki to react in anger. The blonde is used to that tactic, can recognize it on a dim, but Icy Hot never uses that tactic and he never yells. Katsuki, for fuck's sake, get up! You have to. Please, Kats, please! Deku's voice echoes in his head. He isn't supposed to use that name anymore. What the fuck is that bastard thinking? The explosive teen is up in an instant, about to throw a fist into the useless fucking nerd's face when he sees the bigger issue. Dark Shadow has control of Bird Brain, not the other way around. Fuck. The blonde teenager turns to the boy he had previously been laying on and offers a hand to help him up, ignoring the memory from when he was 4, pushing in the front of his mind. Icy Hot takes the hand, and they turn to face Dark Shadow together. We need you two to make light so that Tokoyami can get control over Dark Shadow again, states calmly. Katsuki can hear the hidden panic. Panic is one of the easiest to recognize. Icy Hot looks at Katsuki. The blonde just snarls. Well, you fucking half and half bastard. Let's fucking do this. Don't get in our way, Deku. It's quick and relatively easy, even if it does exhaust him and make his wrist ache even more. Birdbrain gets Dark Shadow under control, and the 5 of them have a second to catch their breath. What the fuck happened to you, Deku? Katsuki bites. The nerd looks like a damn mess. Fucking brutalized, his arm is broken, his face is fucked. Katsuki doesn't care, of course, but the boy looks horrendous, and Katsuki wants to know who managed to 1. Beat up the shitty nerd's constant self-inflicted injuries from class. Right, it's a long story, Kachan. Short version is that I had my own villain to fight. The shitty nerd answers without stuttering or fidgeting nervously. All through now that Katsuki really looks at the nerd, he realizes he is encapsulated by arms, many limbs, and he can't really move. The blonde is about to ask when the nerd starts speaking again. Right, that's not important anyways. Kachan, the villains are here for you. We can't let them take him. So let's come up with a plan that will keep Kachan safe while we get back to Aizawa-sensei. Deku doesn't even wait for Katsuki to acknowledge the fact that villains are after him specifically. 'Cause why would he? Damn idiot looking down on him. Oi, I don't need your fucking help, you useless nerd. No damn villain is going to take me. They would die for trying, Katsuki yells, releasing the flinch it pulls out of Deku. Maybe that I'll remind the damn nerd that he isn't better than Katsuki. Yes, you do, Katsuki and Icy Hot said in tandem. They both turn to look at each other in surprise, before some sort of silent conversation takes place, and then Icy Hot is the one to talk. Bakugo, you're logical and intelligent. Think about the risks. Do you know how many villains there are? Is it 3, 10, 15, 30? What are their quirks, Bakugo? Do you know the best route to Aizawa-sensei from where we are right now? Can you take on 30 well-trained villains by yourself? The damn bastard makes some logical points. Points that Bakugo can't intentionally ignore unless he wants to get himself killed. Which he doesn't. Fine. Then we'll just stick together between the 4 of us. Katsuki gestures to everyone but Deku. The villains don't have a fucking shot. It is said with determination, with confidence, with everything that Katsuki isn't feeling right now. The nerd and I will be in the front, followed by Icy Hot. They knew Bakugo and Tokoyami will bring up the back, arms set. Not like it was an order, but just like it was a well-known and obvious fact. Katsuki found himself agreeing. He wasn't being coddled by the multi-limbed student, and that was good enough for him. Better than he would get from the derm nerd. With that sorted, they all started walking. Exhaustion was pulling at Katsuki's limbs, but the blonde refuses to give in until everything went black. What happened? Did you pass out? Suzuki asked, looking up from his notebook that he had furiously scribbling in. Fuck no. A fucking villain named Mr. Compress used his quirk to put me in a fucking marble or something. Or some shit like that. I don't remember anything while I was in that state.
Suzuki looks at Katsuki, his brown eyes scanning him from head to toe, analyzing and studying him. The blonde skin prickled, any sense of safety that he was starting to feel gone in an instant. He was suddenly far too aware of the absurdly comfortable chair he was sitting in. Rule 15. Never let your guard down around an adult. That is when they will destroy you. Katsuki easily fixes a skull onto his face, letting himself drop into a slouch that makes his ability to easily and quietly throw himself into battle. His feet find themselves planted firmly against the ground and his hands start to sweat, building up Katsuki's favorite thing, nitroglycerin. Why didn't you hide Tokoyami's name from me? Suzuki asks calmly. That studying look is gone from his eyes, instead replaced with an openness that Katsuki knows is fake. I don't give a fuck about Birdman, which means I have no reason to keep his identity a secret. Plus, it is incredibly hard to tell my story without giving away the guy's quirk anyways, so you could easily find out who he is. Katsuki snaps. His throat feels like it's filled with sludge. Then his stomach drops. He gave Shoto's quirk away. That is as good as giving away his name. Shoto's famous. This man, that Katsuki is fairly certain he can't trust yet, knows who Shoto is, knows that they are friends, and the man could easily realize that Katsuki is the son of the famous Mitsuki Bakugo. How much money would it take to make sure this man keeps his mouth shut? What would he have to give him to assure Mitsuki never learns Sho's name? I see. You only protect the identity of the people that matter to you. I guess that makes sense for a hero student. So what happened after you got taken by this Mr. Compress villain? The auburn-haired man asked, his head tilted to the side ever so slightly. Katsuki's eyes start around the room for an excuse to leave. This was a bad fucking idea. How did he fucking forget Rule 7? Rule 8. Never let Mitsuki know the names of people other than Midoriya's. The blonde's eyes fall on the clock and a smirk slides up his face, one that easily hides the panic he had been pushing down. 2 minutes. He had 2 minutes until this fucking session ended, and then he would be free. 2 minutes to convince this Suzuki Kenshin to keep his mouth shut about his and Shoto's friendship. We don't have time to go into that. What do I have to give you for you to keep your mouth shut about Icy Hot's identity? Katsuki barks, causing Suzuki to redirect his attention to the clock before whipping his head back towards the blonde teenager when he finishes his question. Pardon? The shock is plain as day on the tall man's face. Katsuki is suddenly realizing just how much taller this man is than him. How had he forgotten to take note of all the ways he could pose a threat to Katsuki before he walked in. When had he gotten so bad at following his own goddamn rules? You heard me. What do you want? Money? A favor? Introductions? Something else I can't think of? Name your fucking price. I'll pay it if you keep your mouth shut about Icy Hot's identity. Katsuki's voice came out more strained than angry. However, it hid his desperation, and that is all the hero student cared about right now. Bakugo, I don't know who Icy Hot is, and even if I did, everything you say in here is confidential. Therefore, I wouldn't say anything anyways. Also, even if it wasn't, I would have no reason to tell anyone that you are friends with whoever Icy Hot is. The therapist repeats. It's a lie. Katsuki knows it. So he will call the man out on it. Bullshit. Why would I lie to you about this? Wait, I have a better question. How the hell would I know who Icy Hot is? Suzuki asks. His voice is calm. He doesn't look angry, but Katsuki is aware that he could easily be faking it. I gave away his fucking quirk. You know he's in 1A 'cause I called him my classmate, which means you know who the fuck he is. Katsuki is snarling and growling now. The panic is choking him. It reminds him of a warm hand pressing around his neck and into his throat, reminding him of the small places where he could feel the metal of staples dig into his vulnerable skin. It makes him want to run, or maybe hide. I don't know anything about Class 1A Bakugo. I have specifically told Mr. Aizawa that he should recommend me as a therapist for his health class, and due to that I have been sure to avoid any news concerning UA, just in case I come across something about Class 1A. Suddenly, Suzuki doesn't seem as big or intimidating. Katsuki realizes he hasn't moved a muscle since Katsuki started offering him bribes to keep his mouth shut. Suzuki Kenshin was not moved. He's not in a position that he can easily harm Katsuki from. There's no anger on his face. There's no violence in the tension of his body. Katsuki swallows the panic, forces it down into a box that he will address later, and forces himself to meet the hazy stare of his new therapist. You don't know who Icy Hot is? Katsuki phrases in a statement, but hopes the man will see it as a question regardless. No, I truly don't know the identity of any of the people in your story except Tokoyami. Katsuki knows he could easily be lying, but he has ignored his instincts enough for one day, and his gut is screaming at him that the man in front of him is telling the truth. I swear to God, if you're lying, I'll... Suzuki holds up a hand as he effortlessly interrupts Katsuki. Refrain from the threatening me, Bakugo. That would end really poorly for the both of us. I'm not lying to you. I look forward to seeing you next week. Same time? I never said I'd come back next week. Katsuki huffed. It was pointless. Katsuki was definitely coming back. If not because Suzuki was half decent on paper, then to make sure he didn't say a word about Icy Hot to anyone else. What time? Suzuki reiterates, pulling his phone out of his pocket and opening what Katsuki assumes was some kind of calendar app, before speaking again. I'm free on Thursday at 6 p.m. That would mean you would get back to your house past 7 p.m., if that is okay with your parents. UA implemented fucking dorms, so if I get Hobo-sensei's permission, I can make that appointment. Katsuki grumbles, refusing to even look at the man across from him. Excellent. Well, I'll put you down for Thursday at 6 p.m. then. There's my number, and feel free to text or email me if this time suddenly doesn't work for you. I would prefer a day or two's notice, but whatever works best for you. Suzuki carries on as if Katsuki hadn't majorly freaked out on him and tried to rape him not even 3 minutes ago. Didn't Hobo-sensei send you the times I was free already? I gave him a list, Katsuki mutters, just loud enough so that the auburn-haired therapist can hear him. Probably. But I also probably didn't look at it thoroughly. As a hero student, your schedule can change on a dime. As a therapist, my schedule is incredibly full. I figured it would be best to make appointments as we go, although I always make sure to see you once a week. So, as you also have that time. Suzuki responds nonchalantly, completely unaware of the anger boiling in Katsuki at the news that the older man ignored a schedule he made because he thought he knew best. Fine, Katsuki grits out, snatches the business card from Suzuki's hand, and promptly walks out of the fucking room, shooting one last glare at those goddamn chairs. Katsuki enters the 1A dorms and immediately is overcome with intense exhaustion as the noise washes over him. He lets himself scan the room and finds almost every single one of his classmates in the common area of the dorms. Ashido, Kami, Kiri, Zero, and Jiro are sitting at a table, together talking at an obnoxious level. Ida, Uraraka, the nerd, and Shoto are sitting at another table, doing what looks like studying, even if Shoto is just staring blankly at the wall across from him. Lastly, he sees Sato and Ponytail in the kitchen, cooking. Katsuki checks the time and curses softly. It's 7 at night, way past when he usually cooks the class dinner. No wonder Sato and Ponytail have taken on the task. The blonde knows he should go take over. Cooking has become his unofficial job, and he will admit, if only to himself, that he kind of likes it. He's just so damn tired, and if he cooks, then he will have to stay and talk to the damn extras, and that sounds like the worst idea in the world right now. The explosive teen looks up again, only to meet the blue and gray eyes of Shoto. The quiet student tilts his head in a questioning manner, and Katsuki catches himself about to shake his head before forcing himself to nod, to assure half and half that he is fine. The door-crook boy taps Izuku on the shoulder and whispers in his ear before getting up. The nerd turns around and meets Katsuki's watchful eyes before smiling and then returning to his work, saying something to Round Cheeks and Four Eyes, to wipe the confusion off their faces. Katsuki pulls his attention away from his childhood, whatever they are, and refocusing them on the ice prince that is approaching him. "Hello, Bakugo," comes the monotone greeting from Shoto. "Sho," Katsuki replies, letting the nickname slip out as a headache builds and takes his attention. He promptly mentally curses himself out when he realizes his mistake. Brief confusion flashes across Icy Hot's face before he shrugs and responds. "You were gone for a while." It sounds like a statement. Katsuki knows that his classmate wants an answer, but ultimately leaves it up to him. "Yeah, had an appointment. Everything go okay over here?" he replies, gruffly letting his gaze wander over Shoto for a second to assure that there are no injuries. It makes no sense, since the dual-quirked student hasn't been around Endeavor for a week, just like Katsuki hasn't seen his mother in a week either, but the habit sticks regardless. Yes, Momo and Sato are managing to cook dinner without the germs burning down. We took a vote that they should be the only ones trusted to do so while both you and Aizawa sensei weren't here. Kaminari, Ashido, Kirishima, and Zero wanted to impress you by studying while you weren't here and asked Jiro to help. However, they got sidetracked and started to just chat around and forget about work. Tokoyami, Shoji, Koda, Aoyama, Hakakuri, and Mideta are all in their rooms. Izuku, Ida, Urawaka, and I were studying at Izuku's behest, but I got distracted. Almost everyone is fine. Shoto finishes his report of the students. Katsuki is about to shrug and mutter a hasty thanks before his attention is caught on the almost everyone at the end of Shoto's sentence. Almost everyone? What happened, Icy Hot? Suddenly, Katsuki is wide awake. His fingers stretch and fidget as adrenaline rushes through his body. Hakakuri, she was Mineta's target tonight, comes Shoto's deadpan response. Anger is alight in his eyes, and it fuels Katsuki's own burning rage. Has someone fucking checked on her? Did someone get it on camera this time? Can we finally go to Aizawa? Katsuki rapidly fires the questions, thanking any gods out there that his friends hadn't noticed him and that it is only Shoto who sees him this worried. Izuku checked on her. She begged him to leave her alone. It was just Izuku and I who saw it. I didn't have my phone on me and Izuku was taking care of Mineta. We have no proof yet. Shoto replies, looking away from Katsuki as he says it. He looks ashamed. But Katsuki can't be certain. Fuck. And we are sure that the girls won't just go to Aizawa and report it to him? He would definitely kick the grape fucker out if the girls all went to him, Katsuki asked, running his hands quickly through his blonde hair, trying to hide his aggravation. Katsuki, Bakugo, Candy Cane really lives up to his nickname, as his cheeks flush red and his face pales. Katsuki lets out a soft snort, covering his mouth with his hand. Oi, half and half, it's fucking fine. Only fair, right? Feel free to call me Katsuki, so long as we are not around the fucking extras. The blonde chuckled, a small smile pulling at the corners of his mouth. Okay then, Katsuki. The girls refuse to go because they think they are making a big deal out of nothing. At least that is what Momo says. I think it is because the hero she did her internship with said that. That is how things are as a female hero. Something stupid like that. Shoto replies, recovering gracefully from his embarrassment. Fuck! Katsuki snorts, a bit too loud. Every single person in the common area turns to look at him, except the fucking nerd. Katchan! Kaminari exclaims. You're back! Katsuki sends Icy Hot a look, hoping beyond all hope that he was right and Shoto would be his anchor and maybe, just maybe, save him from the exhaustion and headache his idiots would cause him tonight. Having one anchor wouldn't be so bad, right? Kaminari, didn't you say you were studying to impress Bakugo? Weren't you all? I don't think you will be impressed to know that you instead started talking about whenever his hair was actually soft or not, is Shoto's bland reply as soon as their eyes meet. Every single member of the self-proclaimed Baku Squad seems to fall back at that, immediately flushing in embarrassment and hiding their faces in homework. Katsuki shoots the youngest Todoroki a grateful look, choosing to ignore the topic that his friends were originally talking about. Do you want to watch a movie? Shoto asks, his voice just above a whisper. It's the same question he has asked Katsuki 3 other nights since the break ended, and it is every single time that Katsuki is drained without fail. Yeah, why the fuck not? A ring that comes from Katsuki's pocket cuts the blonde off. It's a ringtone that he knows all too well. One that makes him freeze and want to run at the same time. The chime of his background music to the recitation of his unspoken words. It is the music that comes before a tragic event in every movie. It makes Katsuki want to rage and cower at the same time. "Hello, this is Kachan's phone," comes a soft, confident voice on his left. The fucking nerd has his damn phone in his hand. Katsuki curses himself for being so out of it that he hadn't even noticed the nerd had moved. "Oh, you know me, Auntie. Kachan is cooking right now and left his phone on the counter. I just couldn't resist my curiosity." Izuku giggles, but there's no amusement or bashfulness in them. In fact, his eyes are as cold as Shoto's eyes. "I'm sorry. Oh, yes, Kachan is going to be very annoyed with me." Another fake laugh breaks through the conversation. "Absolutely. Please don't keep him too long. Auntie, he is making katsudon tonight, and you know how I just adore his katsudon." The nerd's lie sounds so goddamn real, and suddenly Katsuki wonders how many times the nerd has lied to him. "Uh-huh, it was lovely talking to you too. We should have dinner together soon. Yeah, Mom would adore that. She missed you and Kachan." This time, the laugh that Izuku lets out is one that usually has him throwing his head back. However, watching him, his head barely moves. "Alright, here's Kachan. Bye, love you too." The nerd lowers the phone from his ear and quickly mutes the call before finally meeting Katsuki's eye. "I'm sorry. I know this was overstepping a boundary. I'm so sorry, Kachan. Truly, I'm sorry." Katsuki looks around the room, quickly finding no one looking at them, before interrupting Izuku's soon-to-be ramble with a quick hand through his unruly curls. "Just don't do it again, nerd. You're right. It was overstepping a boundary. Do it again and you're dead. But I guess it's fine this time." With that, Katsuki takes the phone from Izuku and unmutes it. "Oi, what are you calling me for?" Katsuki has to remind himself that this is how he is supposed to respond to the hack when he is around people. It helps him force down the panic. "Why the fuck was your homeroom teacher at my house asking for a field trip signing? Why the fuck didn't you tell me you were going on a class trip over Christmas break?" Mitsuki is angry, and Katsuki is so fucking confused. Christmas break was months off. Why the fuck was Aizawa gathering permission right now? Also, a trip on Christmas break has literally never fucking happened in the fucking history of UA ever. "Oi, Brad, fucking answer me, I'm your goddamn mother." The hack shouts into the phone. "Fucking chill, he just told us a bit ago. Told me he was heading over there and asked me to let him break the news this way. That's why I didn't fucking tell you when I was at the house and why I didn't call you in warning. Did you sign the fucking permission slip or not?" Katsuki felt that age-old panic slide up his throat. Lying like this was dangerous. He had no idea what Aizawa told his mother. For all he knew, this trip was supposed to be a surprise to the students, and Aizawa had told Mitsuki that. Hell, Mitsuki could have made that whole fucking thing up just to catch Katsuki in a lie, and he fell right into her fucking trap. Fuck, he was so dead. "Of course I signed the fucking slip. It's your chance to redeem your family's name from that last fucking field trip you went on. No getting fucking kidnapped this time, you attention whore." With that final loving statement, the hack hung up. The blonde suddenly 10 times more exhausted than before, and just dropped his phone into his pocket before turning to Shoto. "Nah, I'm going the fuck to bed. Night, Icy Hot. Nerd." And with that, Katsuki retreats to his room and hides himself under the covers of his bed, as if he was still a child who believed he would be fine so long as he had his blankets around him. That was chapter 2 of Cracks Like Spiderwebs in My Reality. It is, like I said, the second part of the series, and it has 2 chapters other than the first part. So I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching or hearing.